So, ladies and gentlemen, we have some breaking news. The Buffalo Bills got him. Defensive coordinator Jim Leonhard, welcome home. We are going to be unpacking everything that we need to know about him on today's episode of the Mafia Report. You already know the drill. I ask each and every single one of you to hit that thumbs up sign for me. And more importantly, roll call yourselves in the chat. Where are you tuning in from? I'm always curious to hear how far Bills Mafia truly extends. Do not be shy. Guys, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. I got to tell you, ever since Joe Brady has been announced as the brand new head coach of this organization, I feel like this team has just been winning and winning and winning. Going back to Pete Carmichael being named our offensive coordinator, a Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator, somebody who's going to be giving a bunch of different wrinkles to this offensive attack, followed by Jim Leonhard, your defensive coordinator. And let me tell you this, he was hands down one of the most coveted prospects across this hiring cycle for the past couple of weeks. And I got to tell you what, this is shocking from my end because all we ever heard was that Jim Leonhard had mutual interest to have conversations with the Buffalo Bills. We heard yesterday that he was interviewing with the Baltimore Ravens, but no news of an official interview date right between him and this Buffalo Bills organization. But lo and behold, I wake up, as you know, for the past 4 or 5 days, I was in Mobile, Alabama. I was covering the Senior Bowl. I have my buddy Richie here. I have Justin. I have Dom, our interns. And this morning, Dom walks into my office and he says, Dan, breaking news, the Buffalo Bills officially hired Jim Leonhard. And guys, we need to be pumped about this. Now, if you've been watching some of my content for the past couple of days, you'll probably know that this Buffalo Bills organization and defense as a whole is going to be going through some changes. Now, he has particularly only called defensive passing plays, or he's more of a secondary-minded type defensive coordinator. But when you reflect back on his time in Wisconsin, a lot of signs are suggesting that he is going to be flipping this defensive line or defensive front to a lot more odd man fronts. We heard Joe Brady roll into his opening press conference saying that his identity for this Buffalo Bills defense is going to be getting to the quarterback. So what does this mean? What kind of changes can we anticipate from this hire? I feel like all of us need to be absolutely thrilled. So many teams wanted this guy, and now I'm looking at this brand new coaching staff in Buffalo, and I got to tell you what, a couple of weeks ago, I know a lot of us were very upset of Sean McDermott being fired for some odd reason. But ever since Joe Brady's opening press conference, man, we have gotten nothing but star-studded talent. We know who our team is going to be, at least at the top level. Joe Brady as the head coach, he's still calling plays. You get that veteran leadership from Pete Carmichael as the offensive coordinator, who's going to be assisting with installs and perhaps even adding more knowledge right into our pass game going into 2026. And now you have one of the most coveted defensive coordinators in this hiring cycle. Bills Mafia, we need to be celebrating right now. I need each and every single one of you to be clicking your heels because this organization quite clearly gets it. Now the only thing we have to do is think. What are we going to do in free agency? What exactly is going to be the game plan when it comes into the draft? Because when it comes into tendencies or player preference, it's completely out the window, and I can't wait to unpack that with you further. Now, like I said, he spent his time in Denver last year, where largely he was responsible for the secondary. He was the defensive pass coordinator. So I thought that it would be interesting to kind of take a look exactly how that Denver Broncos secondary looked. Granted, they had PS2, but outside of that, a lot of chinks in the armor, if you will. But you look at how they were from an EPA perspective. They were 8th in the NFL, minus 59.49, 8th in the NFL for EPA per dropback at 0.085. And when it came into DVOA, as far as where they were 8th in the NFL as well, minus 5.6%. So you already know that he's going to be doing wonders with the secondary. with Christian Benford, with Maxwell Harrison going into year 2. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm hoping that we can bring Trey White back for next year because I think that he would be quality depth. But then we need to prepare ourselves for changes. If he is going to be operating a lot off of odd man fronts, what does that mean for Taron Johnson? Is Taron Johnson a cap casualty? Maybe this team is not going to be operating out of nickel as much as they were when Sean McDermott was at the helm. I feel like there's going to be some changes on this defense. But with those changes in mind, how long is it going to take right before we see a true Jim Leonhard defense? That's kind of where we're at as far as his advanced analytics from a regular level. But even going in to coverage, I'm sure a lot of us want to understand, what this team could look like. As far as one high coverage, when it came into the Denver Broncos, you can go on ahead and double check, scroll on down, and see that the Denver Broncos ran a lot of one high safety sets. As of right now, let me go on ahead and switch this up. They were sitting, when it came into it, at 9th in the NFL for one high, and the Buffalo Bills, when you scrolled all the way down, they were dead last in the NFL. So what is our safety room going to look like? We need to be asking ourselves these questions. When it goes into too high coverage, you can go on ahead and see where the Denver Broncos were toward the bottom of the NFL at 29th. So it sounds like that Jim Leonhard loves running that one high. And last but not least, if you want to talk about man coverage, everybody, if you want to go from the raggedy zone, as I know a lot of us got very frustrated with Sean McDermott in the past over this, have no fear because Jim Leonhard loved himself some man coverage. What does that mean? Have Max Harrison on this squad. I know that he can operate in man. I think Christian Benford has had some pretty solid, situations, but some of the guys we have on this team that are literally just zone corners or zone DBs, what's going to happen with this? So many questions, man, and I'm so excited to see what Jim Leonhard can do. As far as DVOA, which is the one thing that I truly care about because it incorporates how hard their schedule was, you could just go into their defensive DVOA this previous season, and it's something we all need to be wildly excited about. The Denver Broncos were sitting at 6th in the NFL. It's just a dream. And I really feel like a lot of us need to celebrate because we got our guy. We have Joe Brady. We have Pete Carmichael as an offensive coordinator who is a veteran. He can provide some assistance as Joe Brady, finds his way with these new responsibilities of being the CEO of the organization. And now we have one of the brightest young defensive minds in the league. Guys, this is an absolute home run. And so you go on ahead and you account for the offensive line coach. I have my reservations for the special teams guy, but I'm not going to be throwing a fit over a special teams coordinator, especially since I think that guy kind of got the short end of the stick when it came into player personnel over in Arizona. But as far as this coaching cycle higher grade, I've got to give this a B+. I've got to give this a B+, and this is perhaps me even being a bit too hard on the organization because everything in me wants to say that this is an A- type grading scale. We should be thrilled. And Bills Mafia, I'm so excited that you have decided to tap in with me this morning. I appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. All right. Again, I ask all of you to hit that thumbs up sign for me and then subscribe to the channel. All right. My goal for 2026 or with 2027 is to cross 100,000 subscribers. Let's grow this family to all-time heights. I love each and every single one of you, and we will see you next time. Folks, I'm not done with the episode. I just had to do a pre-record for the first 9 minutes of today's episode. Now we can get into the chat. Everybody, how you doing? Welcome into the show. The Buffalo Bills should be thrilled. I hope all of you are having a wonderful Saturday morning. A whopping 459 of you are in the building, 334 on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up sign, and let's go on ahead and dive into a roll call. Where are you tuning in from, ladies and gents? I want to see how far Bills Mafia truly extends. Everybody in here, sound off. Where are you tapping in from? I would love to hear from you. Guys, right before we get into a lot of this, I need to give a giant shout out to our good friends over at Sleeper Picks. Folks, Sleeper is the #1 player prop platform on the market today. Signing up, you get a free $20, and you can put that toward your Super Bowl parlay. If you're hockey people, you could put together a nice little hockey parlay for this evening. Basketball, college basketball. Shout out to Sleeper for being a proud partner of today's show, man. All right, let's see. Where is everybody tapping in from? Let's lock in. Boston, Massachusetts. Go Pats. Look at that, man. Best of luck to your Pats, but not too much. Not too much, brother. Let's see. Bills Fever is coming in from Zimbabwe. What's going on, man? I'm not sure if I believe you, but if that is true, welcome into the show. I love it. Houston is in the building. Alabama is in the building. Rome, New York is in the building. Rochester, New York. Snowy Charlotte, North Carolina. Old Ling, Connecticut. Toronto, the 6 is in the building. El Paso, Texas. Niagara Falls, New York, pedaling at Planet Fitness. Good morning, my friend. You get those steps in. I appreciate that. Northern Wisconsin, Surf City, North Carolina. Punjab, India is in the building, visiting family there. Have safe travels and enjoy your time. Long Island, New York. Garrett, what is going on? We have Wiltshire. England is in the building. Greer, South Carolina. Fort Lauderdale. Columbus, Ohio. Seville, Ohio. Austin, Texas. Iowa. Man, life is good. Life is good, folks. Let me tell you what. I feel like when it came into my wish list, like for this sort of coaching hiring cycle, I feel like that I got everything I wanted. I at least wanted one coordinator to have some sort of experience, a guy that has been around the block a time or two that could assist Joe Brady with his transition as a head coach. We got that with Pete Carmichael. I wanted to find somebody that is at least somewhat comparable to what Cromer meant to this organization. I believe that we got that with our new offensive line coach over in Pittsburgh. I think that he's great with a lot of the offensive linemen, specifically with pass pro, and he's not all that bad in run blocking either. Most of the Steelers' run issues had everything to do with their running backs and not their run blocking scheme. Imagine what he's going to be able to do with James Cook and company. And then it was with defensive coordinator, man. Like, we have had trouble finding somebody that was going to like be worth being excited about for a very long time. Sean McDermott, he typically had his claws in most of those defensive play calling situations. You had Leslie Frazier. You had Bobby Babich as a guy that came in for us for a while. But now we got a guy that not only terrorized the Big Ten in college football a couple of years ago, we had the guy that really ended up taking that Denver Broncos defense, at least from the secondary side of things, to whole new heights. And damn, bro, you have no idea where I am at. Folks, as you're coming in, and so I ask each and every single one of you to drop your questions and drop your statements. I want to understand how this fan base is feeling this morning. As always, as a reminder, in order for me to easily decipher between questions and statements and sort of put aside internal conversations that are happening within the chat, please label them appropriately. Please put a Q and please put an S, and let me know, where are you? What's on your mind? That's what I meant. What is on your mind? Let's lock in. We have Dexy Gaming. Dan, my favorite safety, who I think Jim Leonhard is going to love, is Jalen Kilgore from South Carolina. He's a hybrid safety. He's a nickel back. Please watch him if you get a chance. I certainly will. And right as you guys know, I was at the Senior Bowl this previous week. And let me tell you a safety that I have absolutely fallen in love with. Somebody that I think would be able to have the chops to operate out of one high, which is something that Jim Leonhard did a lot more than the Buffalo Bills did last year. Bud Clark. Bud Clark out of TCU was the best safety out on the field. He was all over the place in coverage. He's like your true free safety, where Cole Bishop, in my eyes, is much more better suited being brought into the box, right? Like being your run defender, being that safety that's not going to be asked to run that high shell. Bud Clark is the guy, and I think automatically he's going to be on the top of the list. I'm so happy because now I think I understand what sort of player personnel that this team is going to be looking for. It's still an estimation. We still don't know everything, but this is, I mean, this is big. Man, this is big. This is a big thing. Let me see. Hey, Dan, it's Dante. How's your day going? What do you think of our new staff? You think it's better or worse than the other one? Well, let me tell you what, man, we're not going to get an answer until we see it executed out on the field. But I do think that you would not be wrong in being happy about where this organization has gone. We heard Joe Brady say that he was not going to be asking his friends to join. We have a guy that's been an offensive coordinator for 20 plus years under Sean Payton. So he's been there. He has a Super Bowl ring. He did a lot of very cool things with Chris Olave and Shaheed back in 2023. So I think that that's going to impact what sort of personnel we're looking for going into this season. And then now we end up bringing in Jim Leonhard, who, like I said, man, like we may be having some sort of changes as far as how this defense operates stylistically. But I mean, guys, say that I had to grade this, I'd probably give it a B plus because I suppose I'm not the biggest fan of our special teams coordinator. But then again, like you look at the New England Patriots, for example, their special teams unit collectively is ranked about 20th in the NFL. Like you don't need a top 5 special teams unit in order to make a deep run into the playoffs. And a lot of special teams has to do with quality of personnel and with execution. So for me to be fair, and for me not to sound completely like a homer, I'm going to have to give it a B plus for that special teams coordinator hire. But as far as defensive coordinator, I'm giving that a massive A plus plus plus. And as far as an offensive coordinator, I'm going to have to give that an A minus. I think that it's just working perfectly for us here. Let me see. Would you be interested in trading up for Carnell Tate? Well, I'll tell you what, I did ultimately end up seeing that interview with him just a few days ago while I was in Alabama, and it sounds like that he would be open to playing with Josh Allen. But let me tell you something, okay? Whether or not that you get a soundbite of a player saying that they want to play with Josh Allen or not, every single player wants to play with Josh Allen. Every single player wants to play with a quarterback that is in the conversation for the elite of the elite guys. So, as far as where I think wide receiver needs to go, I think that we need to make a trade this offseason. I would love the Justin Jeffersons of the world, obviously, but it's going to be pricey. I think some of the more realistic options would be a revisit of the Waddle conversation. I think that Marvin Harrison Jr. could potentially work too. For those of you that are still bought in on Brian Thomas Jr., I think that he's a real possibility financially. Something that wouldn't hurt our draft capital all that much either. But then after we end up bringing in a wide receiver via trade, then I want to also double down on a guy that will either be a second rounder, a third rounder, maybe a first. It really all depends. We're going to have to see, man. We're going to have to see. Let me see. Statement is coming in. Best Buffalo Bills channel. You are the best and should have no problem getting 100K subscribers. Pretty excited about that. Joe is doing the staff-wise. Let's see free agency draft. Eddie, I appreciate the love, man. Thank you so much. Dan, are you still banking on getting CJ Allen or Anthony Hill Jr. in the first round, or wait to get a man like Kyle Lewis or Jacob Rodriguez? Well, DTN, funny you say that, because my thought process would have been like, look, as far as wide receivers in the first round, in my eyes, there was no way any of them were going to fall at 26. And I wasn't even entirely sure that we were going to be able to trade up past 15. So while my second preference was a CJ Allen or Anthony Hill Jr., what I saw from Jacob Rodriguez, what I saw from Kyle Lewis at the Senior Bowl, I am so pleased. I would be fine if Buffalo grabbed either of those two linebackers in the third or the fourth round. In my opinion, where I think Jim Leonhard is going to take this defense, I think Jacob Rodriguez would probably be more of a fit because he's a bit more he's a bit more like nuanced in stopping the run, and he's also pretty quality in coverage, where Kyle Lewis is all but a McDermott type linebacker, right? He's undersized, but he's one of the best coverage linebackers I've seen in years, like right out on the field. He's exceptionally talented. But for me, as far as linebacker, I think Rodriguez is my favorite. He's coming out of Texas Tech. We'll see if this Buffalo Bills coaching staff agrees with me. That's where we're at right here. Question, would you think signing Romeo Doubs in free agency as wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 would be great? For sure. As far as this wide receiver room, my number one, or like my path for us to finally get this going, trade for a guy, sign a free agent, like a Romeo Doubs makes sense, right? Maybe a Christian Kirk, perhaps. And then you also triple dip right at the draft. as well. You ultimately end up looking at where this team could be. You have Shakir. Say, for example, you had Marvin Harrison Jr. You get a draft pick. I would be interested in bringing back Cooks, especially since Cooks was familiar with Pete Carmichael. What do you have there? And then as far as the fifth guy, I don't know. Shavers is probably not going to be ready all next season. So what do we do there? Like maybe another wide receiver in the draft. Be on the lookout for an entire overhaul of that position group, with the exception of Khalil Shakir. I think that's really where we're at. Have you seen how much cap went up this year? I did. It is going to be anywhere between 301 to 308 million, meaning that Buffalo, rather than being at minus 16 million, will probably be at around -8, which is going to be a beautiful thing. Richie, Dan, with the cap going up and some models of already creating 50 to 60 million before the cap increase, respect the BTJ and others. This screams go get Justin Jefferson. I mean, look, it's gaining a lot of hype in the rumor mill. We saw that the Vikings fired their general manager this morning, and it's pretty clear that they're nowhere near close to finding a solution at the quarterback position. I could see a world where Minnesota says, yeah, let's go ahead and build for the future, because it's clear that JJ McCarthy just isn't that guy. So I refuse to come on here and tell you that there is zero way that a Justin Jefferson trade couldn't happen. At the very least, I promise you Bean's going to be making a call. I really do. We should get Eric Singleton Jr. And can Coleman check out these highlights of him? They are crazy good wide receivers. Let me tell you the wide receivers I loved at the Senior Bowl. Now, these guys are probably going to be going in the later rounds, but based off of pure talent, I got to tell you about him. Please look at a young man. His name is Tyron Montgomery. Richie over at Roundtable Sports, my partner, my business partner. Chill, guys. He actually had a one-on-one interview with the young man. He only started playing football, 2.5 years ago. He went to a D3 school called John Carroll, right in Ohio. And the reason he played D3 was just because he ultimately ended up losing out his D1 sort of eligibility based off of injuries, transferring, switching majors. Crazy story. But when I tell you that this guy was out there cooking Colton Hood, and when I tell you that he was out there cooking some of the top corners in all Power 4 conferences, he was probably one of the best wide receivers out there at the Senior Bowl. He was insane. He was absolutely nuts. I also love Ted Hurst out of Georgia State. And then, so this one young man out of Cincinnati who runs beautiful routes, his name is Cyrus Allen. He's more of a slot guy. He can play on the outside, but he's more of a slot guy as far as what he's used to. He's a smaller type guy. But like what I was looking for was route running and somebody that can truly be a threat on the intermediate side of things. But as far as Tyron Montgomery, as far as Ted Hurst, I think both of those gentlemen were one of the best wide receivers out there. Very damn good. Let's see what's going on. Question, and do you think that our run defense will be better, not necessarily top tier, but at least top 12? You would assume that it is going to improve. Granted, we need to fill in a lot when it comes into what sort of linebackers we get. Is Shaq Thompson going to be of interest of being brought back? I think with McDermott gone, no. I think that we're going to let him walk. I don't think we're going to bring back Matt Milano. I think he was a McDermott guy. I think Buffalo is going to be really locking in with an entire new linebacker room. Bernard is still going to be on this team, but I'm not sure if he's going to have much of a fit because, again, he's a McDermott type linebacker. He's undersized. He's more known for coverage. I think we're going to be looking at a Leonhard defense that wants more of those hard-nosed sort of linebackers, right? 3-4 fronts. Someone that can get to the passer. I mean, we'll see. Good morning, Richie. Just enjoying chatting with my divisional rival. Yo, oh, there you go. It's a beautiful thing. Dan, and do you think Jim Leonhard will have a better defensive mind than Sean McDermott? It's tough to say better, right? But I can tell you that I think their philosophies are certainly different. I would say that it's likely the opposite. If you have been frustrated with the McDermott defense of the past couple of years, while I can't promise you it's going to be better because it obviously needs to be executed right in front of us, I think it's pretty safe to say that you will have a change. That much I can tell you as far as how we run defense, but it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. I'm okay with a whole new defense. Yeah. Statements coming in. I have been really liking Denzel Boston. He's very good. He was not at the Senior Bowl. I think it really depends on what Buffalo plans on doing. As far as how they plan on attacking the wide receiver position. I think that's kind of where we're at here. Puggy, what's going on? Hi. We have J17. Hey, Dan, I just hopped on my main. Remember me? It's Dante. It's been a while. I remember the first time I was in here and we were talking about Dr. Mitchell and Kyrie Elam. And do you like this new coaching staff? I love it, my friend. I really, really do. Dan, a run-stuffing nose tackle in the 4th and the 5th. I would be beast paired with Ed and Dion and Xavier Harris, Ole Miss. 6'8", 330 pounds. He is a beast. Harris from Ole Miss. Interesting. Very interesting. A big-bodied, run-eating nose tackle. Look no further than Lee Hunter from Texas Tech. We had a conversation with him, but he's probably going to be a first-rounder. Don't sleep on Deion Walker, like taking that responsibility as your nose tackle as well. Do not be surprised in the slightest if that's where Buffalo goes. But all right, folks, I love each and every single one of y'all. Thank you so much for tapping in on a live stream with me. Now, I can tell you this. I am going to the Super Bowl tomorrow. So me and my boys over at Roundtable Sports, we're going to be covering the Super Bowl for the 2nd year in a row. We're so blessed to have that opportunity. So all of my content for the next week, very much like this past week, is going to be pre-recorded videos. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and you turn on bell notifications. I've been giving you daily Buffalo Bills news breakdowns and news videos. Don't want you to miss out on that. Thank you so much for tapping in with me. Once I get back from the Super Bowl, I'm going to have one more week of live streaming on this show. And then afterwards, I'm going to be bringing all of my live streams over to the Bills Roundtable show. In case you're unfamiliar, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for you here. And I do have it linked in my description. All of my live streams from now on, well, not now on, but like once I'm done with the Super Bowl, all of my live streams starting in 3 weeks are going to be on the Bills Roundtable. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Every single live stream will be on the Bills Roundtable YouTube channel. So if you enjoy my live streams and you want to continue rocking with my morning show, go subscribe over to this one. It's called the Bills Roundtable. And all of my videos, my pre-records will be on here, of course. Thank you so much for tapping in to another edition of the Mafia Report. Love each and every single one of you. And go Bills. Peace.